Welcome to the 70th episode of the Final Corner podcast. We're going to be discussing the Monaco Grand Prix this week. It was actually entertaining for once, so I'm feeling a lot upbeat. I'm all positive going into Spain. Everything's going great in the world. Monaco was exciting-ish. So, Tom, Nick, you enjoy it?
Yeah, very much so for a Monaco.
It's great. I mean, qualifying was spectacular. And I thought, well, that's it. Don't need to watch the race live then.
You could have skipped
Turns out
the first 47 laps of the race, though.
Well, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Well, Logan Sargent was falling back a bit. At least that was interesting, I suppose.
Yes. But one of the best Q3s in a long time.
Yeah, it was... Well, I always make a point of watching the qualifying live at Monaco, and it did not disappoint that decision this time.
So we got off to a poor start in qualifying as Sergio Perez chucked it into Sandoval and had no hope in hell of making that corner. So he got things off to a great start by completely smashing his car.
Yes. He did say, I think I just lost the rear, otherwise I would have been okay. And it's like, I don't think so. He looked way too quick into that corner.
Yeah, it was nowhere near, was it?
No. If you had the virtual line on, it would have been very, very red by the time he had hit the brakes. So he was out, which kind of opened up qualifying a little bit. So a chance really for someone else to get in the front row. Story Q1 and Q2 was really Lewis Hamilton trying to squeeze through. He always looked like he was on the verge of losing it, and he managed to get through with the new upgraded Mercedes. I'm sure Tom's excited about all those new side pods and upgrades they brought to it.
It was a significant change, I'll give them that. But the result on the track wasn't a significant change, was it?
Not particularly, but we'll find out more this week in Spain.
Yeah,
but,
I think that's going to be the big test, isn't it?
So he got himself into Q3 with Russell, managed to qualify ahead of his teammate, and up front it was a real exciting fight for pole. Esteban Ocon came out of nowhere and suddenly was fastest. And then the old man, Fernando Alonso, put his car on pole before Max Verstappen, the last car across the line, decided to bash it off every single wall on the track, and somehow that makes you quicker. So he managed to snatch pole right at the end away from Fernando.
Sorry, I don't want to take anything away from Verstappen because I thought the final sector was mighty. Because he was bashing off the walls, but it was calculated, let's say, to a degree. It wasn't like a Perez. That's smashing it off the wall. He was like, scraping off the advertising banners. And coming out of the final corner, he's trying so hard to keep the wheel as straight as possible to get as much traction as possible. He even brushes the wall. And I just thought, that's kind of perfection. And it was exciting to watch as well, wasn't it? Because he was slower than Alonso in the first two sectors.
Yeah.
Two tenths down.
The way it... Yeah, so magical, really.
It was. I was watching it just thinking, oh, for God's sake, Max on pole again. But at the same time, I was just like, but he bloody deserved it.
Yeah, like 2/10 out of the final sector at Monaco is especially.
Yeah.
Now, we went on to see in the race that he just sort of disappeared from everybody. So clearly the whole car and the setup and the driver was all at one. But it still takes a lot, especially to be 2/10 down and fight back. I admire the mental resolve, even if there's quite a bit of hubris there. It's kind of deserved in this instance.
There was a fan cam footage of the chicane after the swimming pool. Just showing cars going through there. And every other car that touches the inside curb is sliding or bouncing or struggling to regain traction and exit. And the Red Bull just drives straight across it with absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So that's where he made up his time. Don't know if you've seen the ESPN graphic that they did, where they did a virtual overlay of both laps, so it got cars going round, and you can see that's where he makes up a huge chunk of the gap. It's just through there. It can carry so much speed because the suspension can just take the bump, whereas everyone else is having to really slow and try and actually go round it, where he can attack.
Right, interesting. I didn't see that graphic, but I did see the fan footage on Twitter. I thought that was fascinating. And also, when Perez crashed, everybody, including me, unfortunately, fell into the trap of tweeting about, oh, quick, get a picture of that underside of the Red Bull. That is important, but the behaviour of the bumps proves that it's the whole thing, isn't it? The suspension
is
deeply related to how you lay out the car with the aero, and it clearly works there. But if you want, you can buy a jigsaw puzzle of the underside of Sergio Perez's Red Bull from Motorsport Images for $29.99. So we should get Toto Wolff that for Christmas.
I imagine he's got several already.
The Monaco Marshals were really trying to help all the teams by craning every crash car 160 feet in the air so everyone could get a good look.
Really high, wasn't it?
Every car that crashes, like, let's put it way up there so everyone can see. So we got a nice look underside, I think, the front three cars this weekend.
Also worth noting in qualifying, I think, just quickly, that Leclerc was in that fight, wasn't he? Less than a tenth behind.
Oh, yeah.
So it was 3 people fighting, which was fantastic. But then obviously Leclerc got blocked Norris quite badly in the tunnel. So he was shuffled down.
Yeah.
Yep, that'll do us for qualifying then. The only other thing I wanted to point out is that Lance Stroll was terrible. Considering his teammate is second,
that is worth pointing
he
out.
was utter garbage.
Is that qualifying or the race?
Just in general.
Both. Yeah, 14th though on the grid, not good enough when Fernando's second, right?
If he were in a Red Bull right now, then he would be the second driver getting changed at the halfway point of the season.
Also, can you imagine if Lando Norris was in the Aston Martin?
Yeah.
Or someone like that?
Oh, yeah.
You know that seat is never going to be switched. It's a bit of a shame.
Yeah. It's just when Fernando's putting on the podium every single week, it's starting to show him up.
Well, will Honda coming in make a change there? Also to bring on a bit of the news that Honda are going to be supplying Aston Martin in 2026, but will they have a bit of the say in the driver selection?
Yuki Tsunoda.
Kobayashi.
Oh yeah, that'll be a better one.
Yeah.
Bring him back. So, yes, that was the news. Big news at the weekend. So Mercedes are losing their customer like they wanted a year ago. That's maybe why Williams are still sticking with Mercedes. I knew that Aston were going to be leaving them. So, we go on to the race then. And it's as you were at the start. Hamilton, I thought, could have probably got signs, but he was a wee bit cautious. And then Nico Hulkenberg wasn't cautious, going down to, I think, Mirabo it was.
Yeah.
He just sends it up the inside and hits Logan Sargent and clips the back of Stroll as well. Which
well, I
was
thought
ambitious.
it was play on. It was ambitious and it was daft and it was stupid, but I don't know. I wasn't sure about the 5-second penalty.
Yeah.
Am I alone in that?
I think so. I think it was a fair penalty, personally.
Right, fair enough.
I'm not even sure he was trying to overtake, to be honest. I thought it might be one of those where it's just like, I've got to dive for the inside because I'm not going to make the corner.
Very true.
Front wheels both locked up, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So there was no control there.
Very true. But then Lance Stroll compounds the issue by trying to go for a gap at the hairpin that doesn't exist.
Twice.
Yes. So he smashes his car and, well, he says he's got a puncture, but he doesn't. He continues. There's other cars involved that have to pit, like Joe and everyone, at the start of that one because they've all picked up damage at that hairpin, which just came to a complete standstill.
Well, it was Albon that kind of stopped. I thought that was a bit weird.
That's what I was going to mention. He did just seem... I don't know if he was backing them up or he had a slight issue, but yeah, he almost stopped on the exit of the hairpin, then went.
Felt like to me, and I've not seen the onboard, as if he's downshifted one too many times and got a neutral. And then gone, damn it, I need first. They just sort of stopped, and that really, like, everyone just bumper card off each other, didn't they? Like, at the fairground. Dodgems, what I meant to say.
Yes.
The analogy didn't quite work with the missing word.
No. But, so, at the start, you've got Verstappen on mediums, where Fernando was on hards. At the back, Perez pits on lap 1, gets rid of the medium tyres and puts on hard tyres. And that's really it, till about 30 odd laps or something, when suddenly the American boy, Sargent, he starts just going backwards. He gets mugged at Mirabo by, I think it was Magnussen, and that just causes a massive chain reaction where everyone gets past him.
Yeah. It was a lovely move by Kevin, though. That was a really nice move. That's how you overtake into that corner.
Nico.
Yes. Which I then thought it was well done for Sargent for actually recognising it and not getting hit again. But then the rest of the lap, it's like, no, he's just pretty much letting everyone through at this point.
It was weird. He'd lost confidence to drive. in halfway through a race. I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
it
his
could have been-
tyres were dead.
Exactly, that's what it is. But just didn't look good, did it? Also, then isn't that backing up? Isn't Perez catching cars already, even though he's already pitted?
Mhm.
So that, even despite what goes on later on, that kind of was a
Oh, yeah.
detriment to his strategy anyway at that point.
Yeah, I did notice that Perez was 26 seconds behind when he came out of the pits. And he caught straight up to Stroll. And as soon as he got behind Stroll, after a few more laps, he was 46 seconds behind.
Oh, from the lead. Wow.
From the lead, sorry, yeah. So he was just gone at that point.
Yeah, you can't do anything there.
Sainz was terrible.
Oh yes,
He was behind
that move on
Ocon.
Ocon.
It was never happening down into whatever that chicane's called.
Nouvelle.
Nouvelle.
Oh,
Which just, does it mean new?
Yes, the new chicane.
Yeah.
It must have been named.
you know, since 1986.
No, in the 50s.
Yeah.
Yes, but that was never happening. And they hit the back of Ocon, didn't they? And broke off a bit his front wing,
Oh, yeah.
which went flying. And Haas were probably a bit raging about that. But
I was just going to say that
Mhm.
same thing.
so he was.
But because it was removed, that's not a
Yeah.
black and white flag. But it probably could have been one earlier, maybe, than it was handed out. I don't know.
And the black and white flag was for driving standards.
Oh, sorry, I meant the meatball flag.
Yeah, Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, because it came off, like you said, it came off within half a lap, I think.
Hamilton drove over it.
Mm.
Yes, and Leclerc possibly.
Mm.
It wasn't clear from the shot.
But it was a half-baked move, wasn't it, from far back?
It wasn't even half baked. It just wasn't even close to being ready.
Straight out of my playbook.
So he was. Yeah, he wasn't good at all this weekend. And then he's a lead Ferrari, but he ends up pitting first because Hamilton pits earlier. And they're trying to cover him off from the undercut, which he's not happy about. He's more concerned about Ocon in front than Hamilton behind, but pit stop kind of knocks him out of sync. The leaders don't pit, but then we end up getting up to lap 50 something when then the rain starts to hit. It only hits in
Mhm.
sector 2, really, to begin with.
Yeah.
So the drivers are
Yeah.
fine the first two sectors of or sector 3 and 1, but then coming down to Mirabel, they're just on skates.
Very strange that. It's almost like that's the sort of thing you expect at the Nürburgring Nordschleife during the 24-hour, right? Because the track's so long.
Yeah.
But here the track's so short and close together. It's very strange to see that. It's almost like Bernie turned on the sprinklers at two corners.
This is the point where I stopped flicking through the 30-second intervals on Virgin Media because I was out, so I was watching the race back later. So for about 30 laps, I was just 30 seconds forward. Nothing's happening, and all of a sudden, oh, rain. And I think we see Sainz goes into the wall. He goes in sideways.
At Mirabel, yeah. That was very fortunate
Yeah.
to survive that, I thought.
Stroll goes down the escape road. Russell then follows him. Russell reverses out and then drives in front of Perez. And a
They
trademark.
were both lucky to continue.
Yes, and a trademark
Yes.
Gill rejoin, which you
It was
you
a
wouldn't
bit.
expect at Monaco. The one runoff area there is someone managed to do a rejoin like that in it. So he gets a 5-second penalty. And Perez is in the pits, I think, 3 times. I think he even goes on extreme wets at one point.
Yeah, I think he did 5 pit stops in the end.
Disastrous weekend.
Wow.
Just terrific. There's a few.
Before it rains, doesn't he drive into the back of Magnussen as well?
Oh, yes.
That damages his wing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's
And Magnussen then decides to think, well, it's peeing down with rain. I don't think I'll bother with the wet tyres.
he just
that was
keeps
a bit
going and going and
foolhardy.
going.
Yeah.
So even if it was drying out at that point, it would still take several laps to do it because it's so wet on the track.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when they decided ultimately to cut their losses, well, they couldn't even do that. He's gone straight on at Raskas trying to get into the pit lane.
Yeah.
And
And that was
knocks
like
his wing
3 laps after everyone else had pitted.
I know, yeah. I understand that they've got nothing to lose, and at Monaco, that's how you get some crazy result. But he'd already lost so much time at that point. He'd lost more than a pit stop.
Yeah.
So, yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But Even if you were going for that stupid strategy, a lap earlier pitting would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
It's so obvious to say that, sorry.
So Aston then pits Stroll. Stroll goes on to the immediate tyres and then proceeds to hit every single barrier he possibly can. So he crashes, I think, at Mirabo and breaks his front wing, or is it the hairpin and breaks his front wing?
Hairpin, yeah.
And then it goes under the wheel, so he can't turn, so he then hits the other barrier on the other side, which knocks off the front wing and means he can drive on. And then at some point, Tom's pointed out, he just gives up and goes home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just looks like, to me, with a radio message says, oh, something's broke, I can't turn. But that sounds like that's when the front wing is under the wheels. And I'm not entirely sure, we don't know, but pure hypothetical for me is that, no, I'm not going to crash again. Because he's already gone off at Mirabo as well, when Russell was. We didn't see a replay, but he's driven down there. He's already had the contact at the hairpin on lap 1. He's already qualified down there. Yeah, he's got the money. He's not going to lose the drive. He's packed. He's pulled it over like Damon Hill did at the Nürburgring in '99.
Yeah. It would not surprise me if that was true.
I mean, in the post-race interview, he just said, on to Spain, which, he didn't say, oh, this steering arm broke or anything like this.
It's like, I'm away home. So then we get the drama, or possible drama at the front, where Aston have pitted Stroll onto intermediate tyres, and then for some bizarre reason, a couple laps later, decide to put Alonso onto a new set of dry tyres when the rain is becoming torrential. So he does a lap on dry tyres, barely makes it round, and then has to pit again for inters. And comes out behind Verstappen, who has been bounced off the wall on his dry tyres before he goes into inters. But if Alonso had went straight on inters, he would have come out ahead because he had the chance to undercut Verstappen. But instead, Aston decided that a lap on hard tyres or medium tyres was the way to go first. And the reasoning apparently was they didn't expect the rain to continue.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because
everyone else did.
Yeah, but they pitted a lap before. You see what I mean? They brought Alonso in one lap before everyone else changed to inters.
Yeah, but they already had Stroll out, which... Surely if they're putting Stroll in inters, they would have thought it must be raining here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't considered that one. But part of me was pleased they did it, because I thought if they take a gamble, it stops raining, this will be a good thing. And then it became clear almost instantly that it was a terrible decision.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
going back
it.
to Magnussen, we're saying hindsight's a wonderful thing, but even when I was watching it live, I was like, what? I don't understand it.
Because I think when Alonso pitted, you'd already seen people going off.
Yeah, people were already spinning off and people were already on inters. So it's one of life's great mysteries, Even Derek Okora couldn't explain that one. It's weird.
You'll struggle to get a hold of him these days.
His spirit is with us.
Well, yeah, we'll need his replacement to get in contact with him. Anyway. Where were we? Oh, Alonso, yeah. So ends up finishing almost 30 seconds behind Verstappen, but if people have looked at the timings and if he had went straight on inters rather than doing the daft lap, it would have been ahead. And then you would have a straight shootout for the win with Alonso in front, which would have been exciting. Fortunately, we didn't get there, and it ended up Verstappen, Alonso, and Ocon kept his third place. Brilliant drive. Didn't see mistakes from him. Got it home in third. Hamilton was closing in at the end, but couldn't make a move. And then Russell kept asking to get past Hamilton because he had a 5-second penalty. He's like, let me go and have a shot at Ocon, and then, I promise, I won't go 5 seconds ahead of Lewis.
Yeah,
I think
he tried quite a few times.
Yeah, it was like every corner, like, Toto, please, let me do it. And then...
Is that why we heard Toto on the radio at the end to calm him down?
Possibly.
I think so. But ended up finishing 17 seconds behind Hamilton. So it was not like it was close. But he managed to keep fifth, I think. He was looking at the time and he was 10 seconds ahead of Leclerc. So he managed to keep fifth.
Yeah.
But he clearly didn't have the pace.
he did at that exact point. He was right on Hamilton's wing, but straight afterwards, he then just started falling back.
But that's happened a few times this season where he's been behind Hamilton, like, let me past, and then the lap later, Hamilton just flies away because he's cool with not going flat out. And so it's been a few times this year George has tried that, and it's not worked for him.
Yeah, a bit of a tumultuous race for George, especially with that dangerous rejoin. That was dodgy.
It was. What the point was made, though, that where you are in the car and everything else, you can't see anything coming. But then if you can't see, don't just pull out.
Yeah, exactly. Or radio in or something like this.
Yeah, or if you have to pull out
to the left
a little bit, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Because
he went straight for the apex, didn't he? Which was
that was the big mistake, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Also, worth noting, if I could just interject a bit, that when Sainz went off, he was so angry on the radio through this race, wasn't it? It was very uncharacteristic of Sainz Jr. Exactly what I was talking about, because, like you said there, the team was covering off Hamilton, but he's racing Ocon. I did think that was a very strange strategic move from Ferrari again. It shows another frailty within their system, I think. So Fred needs to get on that. But when he went off, he lost position to Leclerc. Even though Leclerc at the Nouvelle chicane did the very best at one point to almost give it back to him by hitting the curb and going sideways. And that meant that Leclerc, they had to double stack when the rain tyres came out, and that's why Sainz was down in 8th.
Yeah. Did you see Mercedes double stack? There's a fan footage of it, and George's right rear is slow. So basically, just managed to get him out where Lewis is coming on the pit lane. So they managed to just make it work because the rear right wasn't even off by the time all the rest of the tires were finished. So Mercedes got away with one there.
I did not see that. I saw that Ocon had a slow stop at one point, and we thought, what a great drive down the toilet. But the undercut was powerful. On Sainz.
Yeah.
I just thought Ocon was, Verstappen's driver of the day. Although Verstappen hit the wall a couple of times, actually, and was lucky to get away with it. Whereas I don't think Ocon did. I don't think Ocon made a mistake.
Relative to their cars, I think Ocon had the better drive.
Yeah. He smashed it in qualifying, 4th quickest. Got to be in it to win it, gets the 3rd. And he just held off everybody that came at him. Now, what I would say is that if George didn't go off, he probably would have been 3rd. He was certainly 3rd on the road, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Because what happened is Russell and Verstappen, were they the only ones to make it one stop in that race? And it was from slicks to inters.
I believe so.
So Russell jumped to pit stop on the field and he was up in 3rd. For fleetingly for 3 corners or whatever it was.
Well, double points for Alpine and double points for McLaren as well. In a good weekend.
Piastri, solid race.
Yeah, I think Piastri's going on quite nicely for a rookie, to be honest.
I think it's a bit awkward that they had the Triple Crown livery, but they had no chance of... I know they've done it in the past, but this was never going to be something they could replicate this weekend.
I don't think it was a good livery either, to be honest.
No.
I liked the idea of it, but it looked very... I don't know how to describe it, like junior formula.
Okay.
I don't know. It just didn't seem to work for me. And I think they've got it for the next race as well.
Yeah, something in the back of my mind says it is more than Monaco, maybe, but we'll see. Because the next race is like within 7 days, isn't it? So it's
this weekend, Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that Max Verstappen's won the World Championship because Perez didn't score.
We have to say, in this weekend, deserved because of his amazing qualifying performance and race pace, and Perez doing the exact opposite. Which, we should mention, he also smacked the wall again, didn't he? Down the swimming pool.
Yes.
Really badly towards the end.
He was lucky there.
Yeah, I thought that was race over.
The annoying part for me with the F1 coverage, generally, but especially this weekend, is that incidents happen, you see the yellow flag warning on the screen, and they never cut the live camera to it. They always wait a couple of laps and then show you the replay. Now, I can understand that if there's a massive crash and somebody might be dead. Right, I get that. But, like, people going at 20 miles an hour into the wall at Monaco, like, cut the live feed to it. I want to see. There's a yellow sector. I can see Stroll's card stopped before the tunnel. He's been stopped there for a minute and a half on the driver tracker. Show me why he stopped.
But we could be watching Yuki Tsunoda live, and we always want to see that with his radio comments.
That was quality. That was.
He was super slow though, wasn't he?
He was. At first, I thought it was a bit petulant.
Yeah.
With him saying, "I know, but the brake sucks." But then, as it turned out, a few laps later, his brakes were completely gone. That's why he's letting everyone past. But I just love that.
And he went off as well, didn't
Give him some advice as to how to fix it. And he's like, "Are you trying to crash me?"
They're actually trying to do the opposite. It could have been reference to the fact that the instruction was complicated. I don't know.
Yeah. Or where he was on track at the point of the radio message. I don't know.
Always good value, Yuki, but not a good race for him in the end.
No.
But he was really good in qualifying.
He was, yeah.
Really good. It was worth a shout out there. And also in qualifying, it was fascinating to watch Norris clip the wall and the team managed to repair it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that was very well done.
Yeah, and also the track evolution. Because people were... Was it Albon quickest at one point? And you're thinking, what? I think, was it in...
in Q1,
Q1?
Zhou was quickest just before Perez went off. And he then qualified last, apart from Perez?
Yeah, so it was all about timing. You had to be last because the track was evolving so quick.
Yeah.
But it led for some really crazy results at certain times in qualifying, which I'm personally, now I've seen the sprint qualifying timing and format, I prefer that because it's just a bit more snappy. But this, because of this track and this location and the fact that there was some crazy times going on there, it was fine this time around.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what messed up the Hasses because they did like one run in the first qualifying session, sort of 5 minutes from the end.
Yeah.
They were out. So they, they were out there when the track was quickest.
Yeah, and they were comfortably slowest of the combined times of all the teams.
Yeah. Wow. I've, at the end of the podcast, gone back to qualifying. Apologies, Colin.
It's fine. I'm not editing order around. People can hear the chaos.
No.
Oh, yeah.
So
there was one other thing I found interesting before we finish. Did you hear what they said about Sargent?
No.
When he came in at one point and put softs on.
Oh, yeah, he did, didn't he?
Earlier in the race. And they said because he had no hard tyres left, they decided to use the time before it potentially rained to put him on softs and teach him how to cope with graining tyres.
Wow, that's weird.
This was a TED observation, so it could be completely wrong. But if that's correct, I thought that's quite an interesting thing to attempt during a race. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
Never heard of that. I mean, could you argue it's a bit dangerous?
That's what I think, at Monaco in particular. But he didn't end up being on them for that long because then the rain turned up.
True.
Mad that they'd run through their allocation of tyres, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, championship update. And Mercedes are now, I think, a point behind Aston Martin.
Yeah, this is because Stroll...
Because Stroll's got 27 points, whereas Fernando's got 93.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It's quite substantial, that gap. Sainz is ahead of Leclerc, and Hamilton's 19 ahead of Russell at this point. There's a gap at the top now of 39 points between Perez and Verstappen, which optimistic to say it'll be overturned. Alonso was talking about his championship chances at the weekend after the race.
Really?
He was saying that people in 2012 wrote me off because Red Bull were quicker, and people in 2013 wrote me off because of Red Bull, and I was still in the fight, but it came in the last race.
Yeah, but it's the distance, it's the gap.
Yeah, the gap's huge.
Yeah, and he had a winning car then.
Yes.
Not necessarily winning every race, but this time he has a podium car, not a winning car.
And he's 50, or is it 40, 51 points behind now. So he's quite a long way back. But Aston's new upgrades that are coming are apparently going to make a big jump forward. So
yeah, he could do.
I've got that to look forward to after Spain.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Will they have had time to copy that Red Bull floor?
If you're just copying, you're never going to be quicker.
Oh no, I know.
So
it will be interesting actually that they are now going to no longer be using the Mercedes drivetrain, gearbox, rear suspension from 26. That is. So they're going to have to design all that themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
Red Bull were raging at the weekend because they said if they knew that Honda were going to come back, they wouldn't have bothered setting up their own engine department.
Well, yeah, of course they said that, but Honda dropped out, so they had to act at that point.
Exactly.
But Honda's had a change of heart is pretty wild. And to go with Aston Martin is radical, really. Two road car companies teaming up that they don't even own a percentage of each other or anything.
No, so we've got Porsche, I think, still talking up.
Audi. Porsche are considering it, but they can't seem to find a way into the sport somehow.
No. And then obviously we've got the rumoured Andretti link up as well, possibly coming.
Might be with
that's
Caddy engine or something.
General Motors / Cadillac, although apparently it would just be a rebadged Renault engine.
Oh, very good.
Because the Ford engine that's coming in as well is just rebadged Red Bull own brand, isn't it?
It is, although they are collaborating on it because it will be a new engine, so there is some input from Ford.
Oh, okay.
Not very much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. One engineer sends some emails. Stick a badge on it.
Exactly.
Some bloke from Chelmsford.
Did anyone watch Indy 500 before we finish up?
I watched the highlights.
No.
Did you watch it?
I watched the last 20 laps, which took about 4 hours.
Wild, that wasn't it, though?
Yeah, so Marcus Ericsson loses to Joseph Newgarden on the last lap.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Paddle Award? Marcus Ericsson move. What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was on the limit, wasn't it? But I'm not. I don't have too many opinions. What do you think?
To be honest, I don't watch IndyCar enough to know what's right and wrong. If it was F1, it didn't leave enough room. If it's
IndyCar is more lenient. Yeah.
IndyCar was basically saying that's Paddle Award's fault for basically not committing enough. And Paddle Award said in his interview afterwards, I know next time I'm taking him with me. Which is a completely different attitude to F1 drivers. So.
America's just different. I know it's a different sport again, but NASCAR's so open. But IndyCar is more lenient with stuff. Going on to that final lap showdown, that Ericsson is driving in the pit lane to break the toe, and that's perfectly allowed. You think about it, they're going there 200 and odd miles an hour, and the pit wall's there. You misjudge that, I'll get a puncher, and that's instant death.
Yeah,
and it's still, fine to do that, and weaving down the straight and everything like this.
So many red flags towards the end. It was ridiculous. Like, did
you see the tyre breaking off the car and
that was scary?
The crowd when Kirkwood went upside down. Yeah, that was awful.
Luckily, it cleared the stand and it hit someone's beautiful white car.
A Chevrolet Cruze that went by the name of Snowball.
Well, Snowball's dead.
So Snowball is dead. Yeah.
Bring on Snowball 2.
Yes.
Which is a Simpsons reference for anyone?
Yes. You seen the Simpsons clip going round this past couple of days as well of Lenny trying to catch the tyre when he's at a speedway race.
I've not seen it.
No.
It was another Simpsons reference which tied in with this one. So
pure luck that spectators didn't die then.
Yep. No, that was. Again, they've got wheel tethers, they've got big catch pheasants. I need to have a look at that because that was.
IndyCar said today that the wheel tether didn't fail. I'm not sure how that works.
Well, how did the wheel tether not? Surely at some point the wheel tether is disconnected from the car. So even if the wheel tether itself hasn't failed, something's failed.
Yeah.
It's not just happened on its own. So yeah, Indy's.
We can laugh because there was no injuries, but yeah,
exactly.
It was on the edge.
But it's not a race I'm watching the full thing of. So just catch.
No, I didn't catch it at all.
Yeah, so that was fun at the weekend. Right, on to Spain this weekend. My least favourite track of the year, but it is different. The final.
Yes.
The final sector's been converted back to its old, I think, 2006 spec, so we've not got the stupid chicane at the end. It's now just a fast right-hander onto the straight. Whether that closes anyone up or not.
It's going to make precisely zero difference, in my opinion.
It was good in the old days to have that there when they had a bit less downforce and it was a little bit iffy. It wasn't quite full throttle to go through there. Now I just think everyone's going to be flat out around the whole bit.
Yeah, of course they are.
The DRS
it
one
rains.
is huge.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's right at the start of the straight, all the way at the end. It's massive. And as you say, I think there is rain in there at the weekend, isn't there?
That could make it interesting.
Yeah, it's been a while since there's a wet Spain race.
I watched the highlights of the F1 Academy racing around there with that layout recently. And that tricky little chicane was not an overtaking opportunity. but neither are these two corners, so the net result was
No.
no different, I don't think. But you're right, I think maybe the huge DRS zone, well, it'll mean if someone has a bad qualifying, they're just going to zap past through in 5 laps, and that's the end of it, but I don't know. We shall see. But open-minded, but sceptical.
Yeah.
Open-minded, but half closed.
Yes. So Sunday is forecast for 50% chance of rain, 70% chance of rain. So Sunday at the moment is going to be wet. Can't
That
win
would be
you.
quite fun.
So that'll be good. We're all excited, and we'll be back next week with that. Touring cars, I think it's back this weekend as well, isn't it? From Shruxton.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It is.
Josh got win.
No, not going to win a thing.
No.
Oh.
Unless he straps his car to the back of Ashton and he's not got a chance. So that'll be next week. We'll have a double episode next week for you with those two events. Tom, Nick, any more for you guys?
No, that was it.
No, that's it.
Just Indy 500, but we covered it.
That was a brief look back at the weekend's action. Tom can now go to the cinema. And Nick can get back to whatever he does with his evenings. We don't inquire. Just leave him to it. So, thank you all for downloading. If you enjoy, subscribe, which many of you are now doing, which we appreciate. And we'll see you next week.
See ya.
I was going to say something and I forgot what it was, but bye.